Many of us came into 2020 thinking this would be our year. We had big plans and we were excited about what was to come. And all of a sudden, we are smack dab in a pandemic. There was, and I would say still is, a persistent denial of our current reality and what has passed. There is an opportunity, though, for us to embrace a new normal that's sustainable, because the normal that was in the past, it contained systemic inequities. The normal that passed was formed in the crucible of capitalism, which binds our identity toward our productivity. But our identity is not found in that. Our identity is tied to our intrinsic worth and inherent dignity, because we are human beings, period. It should cause us to actually embrace our humanity, right? Our finitude, the fact that we really are not all in control in the ways that we think we are. We made plans for this year, right? And we're like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. I have this, I have that. And all of those plans have been canceled, right? And I think what we ought to be learning, I know what I've learned so far, and what's always been true, is that we have today. Yesterday is gone. We had yesterday and we have today. We don't know if we have tomorrow. Asking people to have hope and faith, at a time where people are very, very hopeless, right? It can feel like a sting. Grieving what was is really important, and lamenting what is. Grieving and lamenting, they provide just the fertile ground, right, for our faith, right? For hope to spring forth, for us to continue to forge forward and actually create a new reality. Inequity is actually legislated. That's the fact. And so what's been very disconcerting for me is the way that people have been trying to pathologize Black people and make our deaths our fault, as if Black people don't want access to decent food, to good health care, as if they don't want to be believed by their doctors. So there's implicit bias coming into play with quite a few of the deaths that I've seen. Black people have been trying to get tests and cannot get them, like what happened in Michigan with Bassi Afyang, 25-year-old who died. He had all the symptoms of COVID-19, including shortness of breath, and they denied him tests, and he passed away. And then you think about Black women and our mortality rate when giving birth. We're 3 to 4 times more likely to die while giving birth. And so how much more when we're in a pandemic? A lot of people that are now showing up at these anti-lockdown protests and rallies, and people that are now beginning to rebel against the scientists and the scientific data, I think that sadly is motivated by deep lovelessness for one's neighbor. I think that's rooted in racism, to be quite honest. It seems that ever since, it's been broadcast, the racial data.
Coronavirus is killing more African Americans than any other group of people in the United States.
Racists will use that data, right, as a means to justify the fact that, it's them that's being impacted. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go ahead and protest, and I'm going to, assert my right to be outside and to go to restaurants and live my life the way that I once knew, without understanding that we are all interconnected. That your well-being, Mr. White Supremacist, is bound up in my own well-being as well. We are connected. COVID-19 might be impacting our community significantly more, but that's because of legislation and policies that are and are not in place. It's not because of anything inherently within us. And so I think most of this is motivated truthfully by lovelessness, selfishness, outright racial hatred. We really don't know what is to come, right? We don't know what the future holds exactly, but we have the opportunity, if we have the courage and if we have the imagination and the will, to actually shape a future that is sustainable and equitable for everybody. We have got to have policies, that put in greater safety net. There's no reason why America should not have universal health care. There's no reason why Americans should not be receiving a $2,000 check every month for the duration of this pandemic. one of the richest countries in the world that's simultaneously greedy and stingy. You know, that's just, it's a shame. The time it's now for us to begin to imagine what is on the other side of this, because we're not going back to what was.